Yes, the halfway point in RPL F1 here in Season 10. It is time for the Hungarian Grand Prix, round number 13 of the RPL season. During the season, we've had Cookie dominate so far. Scyther's been right there with him, and he's been the main guy who's also been in contention for race victories or podiums. Race Dainty as well, since he's joined Red Bull, has had consecutive podiums. And now it's going to be all in Red Bull's favor because we'll start with our headlines in a little bit, but Scyther has a qualifying ban. You'll notice that in Q1 here in Hungary. Welcome along, folks. I'm commentator Ryan Searles and Titan Iron Wolf. Welcome along again.
Yeah, it's good to be here. We're at the halfway point of season 10. Kind of crazy that this season has gone by pretty quickly. And yeah, as you mentioned, Scyther having to serve a qualifying ban after being involved in an incident with Reese last week in Silverstone. But I mean, to be fair, it ain't the first time Scyther has had a qualifying ban, and last time he did have a qualifying ban, he actually worked his way through the field, and I believe wound up getting himself onto the podium at that time.
He also had one in Formula Endurance this season too, and won the championship. Let's go over everything notable for this event. Excuse me, folks. I'm grabbing I'm munching on a snack, as you may notice, because I have not ate all today. But headlines, changes, penalties. Let's go over all of them. Let me fix my volume quickly. There we go. That'll be better. We have, for tonight's event, let's see who's racing first to see who has to serve those qualifying bans. Scyther is one of them. Next time Tadpole and Cam show up, they'll have to serve one themselves. Zakaria is no longer a part of the Mercedes Academy. He's a reserve, and he's in the Ferrari Academy this time. Jack is full-time for Aston Martin next season alongside Korsman. Beatnik contract terminated in all tiers. JTK won the Tier 2 Vegas race yesterday, with Red Bull clinching the Constructors' Championship. Formula Cringe, the previous full-time AlphaTauri driver, dropped to a reserve. Gecko returns to the team for the first time since Season 3. He's been promoted to Tier 1 from Tier 2. He's got a full-time contract with them. Florian and Andrea, they're back after weeks of missing racing. And welcome back to RPL for the first time in a couple of seasons, Dasher. This time it's not TRT Dasher, it's just Dasher. But the Brazilian driver is back, so we got some headlines to look forward to. The Drivers' Championship has Cookie out in front by 79 points. Reese is over 100 points back. He's basically irrelevant in that Drivers' Championship. As for the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull have done just that to McLaren, made them irrelevant with an 171-point gap. That is insane. We had Season 9 where the Chiller was on pole, and the race where Josh was taking victory for the Red Bull team at the time. Now he's a part of the Mercedes Academy, and now we have Hunted, a part of the Alpine Academy, starting off first lap.
Yeah, quite a lot of very wild headlines. Yeah, so sorry, I'm just a tiny bit out of it. Dealing with a bit of a headache on my end, but currently on board with Hunted as he's getting his first lap worked on. Makes his way through out of completing sector 1, 27.3 to kick it off. Nice and easy on turn number 5. That is a notorious corner to get track limit warnings and penalties, and there's even been a couple of spins there in past races. Now making his way through sector 2. Tight and curvy. It's very tricky to get some passing done in this area. It is possible, but very tricky. But Hunter keeping the floor down as he heads into sector 3 now.
So this sector is very short for the drivers. It's just a few corners, but you have to nail them. Lots of variety in terms of different lines. That is a Ferrari spinning around, but that is Scyther, who is trying to just get his setup in and figure things out. He has a qualifying ban. He'll come back to the pits while Hunted gets a 16-3 to start off the session. Alpine need some good finishes. They had one last week with Jack, and they had another one in France with P5, excuse me. Gecko is second. Let's see who else is on a lap or starting one. We're going to go to Zatsy then. For the time being, we'll go on board with him, who's trying to get out of what will be the bottom 4 eventually. Bottom 2 based on pace because Kipu and Scyther serving qualifying bans. TB is fastest. Now turn 1 for Zatsy. He comes through. DRS applied. This driver is very used to the circuit because he's had good runs here before, but wiggling through turn 2 will not help the matter. Turn 3 looked okay. Usually that corner ends up being one for battling, and then it stops here at turn 4 where he goes through the sector split at 27.9, and he's been nabbed for track limits.
Yeah, as I said, turn 5 is quite notorious for track limits if you're not careful. Another corner that is also notorious for some other corners that are notorious for track limits. The chicane of turn 7 and 8, but also turn 12, which is the corner that a Mercedes just went through. I believe that was that Minico that went through there. Nope, Minico's not lap, it was TB. I went through there. But literally the final corner before the sector 2-3 split, that's another area where a lot of track limit warnings and penalties are going to be seen in this event.
We got Florian, who has not raced in quite a few weeks, crossing the line now, and he will go 5th fastest behind teammate HSR Gecko. TB, with that lap, feels he is comfortable and safe to be through into the next round of qualifying. Here's Dasher on an RPL return, heading down to turn 1, the heavy braking zone. Lots of famous moments in turn 1. Usually, if you brake late enough with DRS, you can get the move done. And same thing on the starts too. If you end up out-braking your competitor, you can scare them and push them wide a little bit onto that curb. And turn 2, a lot of battles happen through here. Turn 3, same thing could be said there. And now we head to turn 4, Titan. I'm going to go AFK quickly, but I'll have you take over with Dasher.
Got it. Dasher now completing off in sector number 1, working his way through turn number 6 as he now heads to the chicane. Turn 7 and 8, just riding up with those curbs, keeping it nice and well on those curves through 9. Now 10, those sweeping corners. Now into 11, flying up his way through, and as Kipu serves his qualifying ban, Dasher nice and easy out of turn number 12, now into the last couple of corners here. 13, getting up to the gears, gets up to about high 5th gear, through 14, now to the final corner. I'll see, as you can see, he's just doing nice and easy out of there, just a little bit of wiggle coming out of that exit, but unfortunately Dasher currently the slowest with a 17.3 on his end.
That is not good for him, but at least the field is close, considering the car gap here is surprisingly a lot. Now on board with ATX Cookie, who's coming through Sector 2, the S's, which can be tricky on a driver for track limits, traction, and racing when in dirty air. Here comes Cookie trying to nail this, 54.0. George also went 3rd fastest. Reese goes fastest. Cookie enters the final sector now on his first run. He mentioned prior to the drivers he was practicing with and in a voice chat with, if he doesn't practice for an hour, he usually ends up being very rusty, ends up being slow on the track. So let's see what this first lap is. It's 2nd fastest, just 0.02 off of teammate Reese Dainty. So even with the hour practice that he's done, even if it's sandbagging or not, at least the more practice he's in, the more practice he's got, the faster he'll go. Wavy Knife set a decent lap for Aston Martin, being 8th place. And Luke Grange, who we did not mention tonight, instead of being an Alpine, he's in McLaren. Luke Grange, 3rd fastest. He's won this race before multiple times too. He's won it in season 3. He won this race, or got a podium this race in season 5. Took pole in season 3, and he got a podium with Renault in the season 2 running of this race.
Yeah, very true indeed for Luke. And so just clarifying it right. So Cookie said that if he gets like an hour of practice or less, then he's like rusty or whatever.
10 minutes of practice, and he ends up doing a 15.5, which pole time here last season was a 15.0. Owen went 9th, by the way. But I was just gonna say how yeah, Cookie said if he doesn't do up to an hour of practice, that he ends up being rusty. And seems
I
like
call
that
I call
last hour
bogus
was-
on that one. I call bogus.
I don't know. I mean, he was having a tough time in time trial. I mean, I was there in that chat when he was talking about it. Reese was and Gecko was. So all Red Bull Academy guys in that area, excluding myself. So who knows? Owen, little breaking news on him. Mentioned in the admin chat from Jack Miles. Owen, not any reasoning giving on this, but before the race and after the race, he has been not called to the office of investigation, but asked nicely at least to show his PC files before this race and after the race. You may think, why is this the case? Is he caught cheating? Do people think he's cheating? Well, I think based on the way Jack worded it to the other admins, it seems like it's being done for the transparency of the league with people like that. I think that's a good thing. It should be done anyway, but I just hope they know what they're checking for then at that point, as Minico is 4th fastest now. We'll go on board with D-Chiller and other drivers needing to get out of the bottom area.
Yeah, so the Chiller currently looking currently on his outlap. Dasher is back out on the track as well to try to improve his timing. So currently the Chiller yet to set a lap. He is currently in the bottom 4, well not technically bottom 2. As Minico, same with TB.
Oh.
He's good enough for there, and Cookie does go back to being the fastest now. 15.7. Because like I said, I call bogus on him being rusty with very little practice. We have a feeling he's just gonna pull a gap and do pretty decent.
Well, I do think it shows the more he practices, the faster he gets, because now he improved by 100th right there. The Chiller is on an was on an outlap and is now on a lap. He got pole in this race last season for Alfa Romeo, or for Ferrari, and now he's an Alfa Romeo, The Alfa Romeo of Cam had a really good qualifying here in this race last season in Q3, 6/10 off with a pole time, and Alex Baer, making his debut in this race in Tier 2 the last season as well, also had a really good qualifying too. So we'll see what the Chiller does for Alfa Romeo. Now they're currently sitting 15th and 18th. The Chiller does not have a lap in, but here he comes through turn 5, a tricky area on the curbs, and now the chicane. Very tough to race side by side, and we're not going to see a lot of that in tonight's event. Now the S section, which can be tricky on a driver as well. Just a lot of mental game goes into this section because you think to yourself, it's like, okay, well, I ended up not being fast right there on traction. If I overpush it, am I going to step out of the boundaries? Or am I just going to get within the bounds that I need to? And the Chiller looks like he's going quite well through Sector 2. He's now in Sector 3, and 5 of the top 6 drivers believe they're safe in the next round of qualifying. 5.5 minutes remain. The Chiller hits the final corner now.
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of lap the Chiller is going to be putting on deck, and it's going to be 9th fastest, a 16.4. That puts him right behind the Ferrari of George and ahead of the Haas of KVS. Next up, Dasher coming across the line. Can he improve that time? Yes, he can, but unfortunately, he's still in the bottom 2. So looks like Dasher is probably going to have to go do another run to try to at least find an additional 1/10 of a second to try to get himself out of that bottom 2.
Well, Cookie showed if you make mistakes here on your first run and then go out, recharge again, but on the same set, you can improve as he did by 100th. Teammate of Dasher, NRM KVS, is down a 10th in the first sector, but he has got Haas's best 2 finishes this season of P7 twice in the recent races. So he's coming through the sector split not so great. Zatsy's coming through the sector split right now, and I believe he's on a backed off lap, so we'll switch back to NRM KVS then to see what he's doing through sector 2. Sliding the rears a little bit, little out of shape, but he should be okay. Now coming through the last corner right here where everybody seems to extend track limits on that left-hand side. He's up by a 10th nearly. Cookie's lagged out of the session with a rare disconnect from him, But NRM KVS, if he completes this lap now, can have a bit of a buffer in comparison to that bottom 2 being eliminated on pace. Instead, he adds to the pit lane. Owen is on a lap for Aston Martin. We mentioned his PC fouls being checked, and we'll see in terms of the pace difference what that is. He got a podium in Canada. He got a podium last week in Silverstone, so no worries from him. And with the high up roll that he has, one of the top 3 guys in this league, no cheating, we'd assume, and coming back to the pit lane because I'm pretty sure he thinks just like NRM KVS does, even with improvements. I don't really think many guys are going to sit here and improve from that bottom 5 area currently on pace. Not bottom 5 being eliminated, but 13th on down on pace, because that's where I think if there's going to be any improvements, it will come from Gecko, Florian, Andrea. Maybe Zatsi. Dasher's tough to tell because we've not seen much of him. Literally not seen any of him in this game cycle. But I think any improvements will come from that area rather than just, you know, only 1 or 2 or all of them. But yeah, 2 will be eliminated, Titan, and Andrea is going to be the next one to set himself up for a lap.
Yep, I see it on the track. I see it on the track map for him currently going through on his run. I am on board on my end. I'm on board with Florian, who's currently in 14th right now, right near the cusp of possibly being knocked out of Q1, and he's currently only 400ths up in Sector 2. So at the moment, he's looking to improve, but not by much, and it's not going to change his position. Zatsi bails out to the pits as Florian's just about rounding the final corner. See what he's got for improvement in the final corner as he comes across the line. And he does go 14th. He still stays 14th, but unfortunately, he's only 11 thousandths off his teammate Gecko, who just went up to 9th.
Well, fair play to Gecko in his return to Tier 1 full-time. He needed something like that to happen. Florian, although he improved on pace, he never improved any places, but that's still good for him because he needs that buffer to not get eliminated here. Andrea is currently just above the drop zone and improving through Sector 2, rounding the final corner to come across the line for McLaren. He will be 7th fastest. That should get him safe. And in fact, all Alpine Academy cars inside the top 8.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, currently Luke on top with just a smidge under a 15.9 is currently the lead for the Alpine Academy cars. Hunted at the bottom of it with a 16.2, but literally in comparison for the Alpine Academy cars as a whole, well, basically just about 3.5 tenths separates the 4 of them from Luke down to Hunted.
Wavy is improving in the first sector by 2 tenths, and he revealed to me that yesterday, when he got points for the first time in a Mercedes, he was racing with a concussion in Tier 2 Las Vegas, and he still is battling concussion symptoms while racing tonight and is improving in that first sector. And let's see what the second sector looks like, 'cause this is massive from Wavy. We've not seen anything like this from him in a while. He's still improving. He's slightly down on the time, though, that he was improving by in Sector 1. But he raced here in the Formula Endurance race for Aston Martin and had really good speed, had a really good run going until crashed. So he made a mistake there in that penultimate corner, but I don't think it's going to matter. He's going to at least beat Owen, I'm pretty sure. No, he's not going to beat him, but he's going to improve the lap time. So very good effort from Wavy. I'm impressed by him right on that lap.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that literally Wavy is basically battling through this race with a concussion. I mean, I don't know how serious Wavy's concussion is, but I can tell him from experience. Yeah, I just noticed KVS going 6th fastest. Good God, what a barn burner from him.
Dasher's not improving, by the way, so I have to cut in Titan because he's going to be eliminated right now, and Florian doesn't need to improve, but he still is. Enter him, KVS, fair play, and yes, with that concussion from Wavy, deserves some fair credit. That Aston does not look well here at all, I can tell you that. Luke qualified in the top 10 with that car last season, but what does it matter? For right now, Dasher is out of qualifying, so the top 15 are safely through, but Florian will choose to improve anyway, and he will go to the line without improving now, since he sees that Dasher did not improve, and I think he also just made a mistake there in Sector 3 because he was up, and then, well, it really didn't matter. Owen and Wavy have backed off. So your bottom 4 eliminated in qualifying here. Dasher, Zatsy, Scyther, 3 Ferrari Academy cars, and then Kippu, who was put here last moment, having to serve a qualifying ban because of it in the Williams, not racing. Or, yeah, not racing, excuse me. Not qualifying, excuse me. Out of qualifying. Dasher and Zatsy, though, on pace. And I did hear what you said about being right back. So I'll mention, top of the board, both Red Bulls over Luke Grange, also known as L74G. 15.7, the fastest time right now. We are currently 6/10 slower than the Tier 2 pole time from last season, and we're currently nearly a second slower than the Formula Endurance pole time. But I'm sure we'll get there, though. Everyone just getting in their first laps here. So, you know who's eliminated now in qualifying. Now get your predictions in for Q2. Only 3 of you watching. Wow, that's shocking. It's different. Okay, so Q1 is done and dusted, and now it's time for Q2 in Hungary. I'm going to ask the drivers if we have any rain in the race. I've not checked anything right there from them, but I don't think they have anything that they've said about it because there's probably nothing. 9/10 separating the top 15 is mental, TB, I agree. TB and Minico, both Mercs in the top 5 as well. Very nice to see both AlphaTauris, both Aston Martins through as well, considering Aston Martin's pace right now. Haas and Alfa Romeo also getting through with one of their cars. The other cars eliminated on pace, Dasher, Zatsy, Scyther, and Kippu out. Okay, Q2, it's time to get underway, and it's time to give some predictions as well. By the way, of things around the circuit that I'm going to mention, track limits is one. Another being drivers being caught out on traction, low speed corners, the places to battle side by side. I mean, really, it's basically the whole first sector. And then you can maybe make a dive into the third to last corner. Second to last corner, you'll see some racing sometimes, but only one DRS zone here and one detection point. Two DRS zones, one detection point around the circuit. So something to watch out for as drivers are now out on track. And trying to find who wants to be first to go, who wants to be last to go, what kind of, train are we going to get ourselves in? We have cars up in front just trying to pick their space to get in, really. The first one who will cross the line for a lap will be HSR Gecko. We'll go on board with him in the meantime. We're going to see what those guys do anyway. So, yeah. Titan said be right back. So, I would have done a 30-second ad break, but we only have 2 of you watching. And we're about to start laps, so...
Well, I just got back anyway.
Awesome. Good, then. We can cover HSR Gecko's lap, then, who's about to come into the last corner. This last corner is very interesting, to say the least, guys, because this last corner, variety of different lines. Slow in, fast out, high in, low out, low in, high out. What do you want to do? Here comes HSR Gecko, starting the lap now. Turn 1 is all his. 50-meter board, he brakes toward the inside curb, but not on the outside curb, excuse me. Now, for turn 2, setting himself up here. Again, inside curb, you don't want to be on it, but you want to be next to it. Turn 3, this inside curb you want to be on. But you got to be careful at how you turn in, though, because you don't want to turn in too much or too little. That can cost you for track limits. Turn 4 especially. We've seen guys already invalidate. 27.6 the first sector. Turn 5, that inside curb is slippy, so stay off of it. No wiggle this time for Gecko. It almost was a wiggle, though. The chicane as well. Tricky with track limits. Tricky with just staying on. And he almost had a slide right there. Now, S section he comes through. This is an area where you take a lot of different lines or just have a variety with how you want to take it. Or the different gear ratios. 5th gear downshifting there for just a second to 6 as well. He's got a Mercedes in front. That is TB not on a lap and about to be on one. So Gecko may be getting some dirty air. He probably won't be too happy with that. But he's about to come across the line to set our first lap. And he went a little wide right there.
Yeah, Gecko had a bit of a minor slip there, but here comes with the benchmark, 17.2, responded immediately by Jack with a 16.3, and now more cars start to pile on in. Next up will be the Chiller, followed up by George. The Chiller 16.6, George coming up next, and that's going to be 16.3 as well. There goes the other Alpine of Hunted, 17.2. Mercedes, a Minico, 16.7. Now the McLarens, well, not Andrea. Andrea's gonna have to try again after invalidating. Florian up next for his time, 17.6 for him. Luke, top of the board, 16.2. And now comes the Aston Martins. It's gonna be, well, actually one just bailed out to the pits. That's Wavy. Wavy has gone out to the pits. Now we look at Owen now.
Here he comes. Final corner is all his, and DRS is all his, being applied. Coming across the line to be 6th. Next up, you have a Haas that is entering KVS starting a lap. Restain T is going to start a lap soon. Cookie's going to start a lap soon too, but the fake TB and Andrea will be next across the line to complete laps. The fake TB crosses the line for Mercedes, and he will go 4th fastest. That top 4 is quite close right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally the gap between 1st to 4th is only 0.08 of a second, while 2nd to 4th only separated by 14 thousandths of a second. That's pretty dang close for the top 4.
We've got Cookie, we're on board with it, and we're going to see how our Tier 1 championship leader does it. Turn 2. Little slide from the rear right there, but should be okay. Turn 3, a little submissive on the entrance right there, but got the exit a much better. Sector 1, 27.4. Turn 4 right here. Interesting on the throttle input right there. Now for turn 5, he's at 5th gear. Seems like a little bit of a struggle there through that corner from Cookie, but you know what? Even with that struggle, Cookie still got room to improve. That chicane was nice. The start of the S section is much better. You saw how he went to the left there, then darted to the right to try to find some time. And now the ending of the S's, he's using a lot of curb, and it will be 54.2. This might be on U sets, so be aware of that. NRM KVS is 6th. Final sector for Cookie, 3 more corners to negotiate. This penultimate corner was a lot better. It looked like with how heavy he was braking there, it could have been a lockup. A small snap from the front, nothing too severe though. It's probably what he's trying to do to find some time. And now that last corner was beautiful. Coming across the line, he's at a 16.0. So even with some small minor mistakes, Cookie's still fastest.
Yeah, some minor mistakes and some lag spikes as well to come along with it. But yeah, Cookie currently the
That's
top
slower
of the
than
board.
Q1. That's slower than Q1 by 0.3. I just noticed that as well. And that surely has to be on used sets if he's making those mistakes. Reese Dainty, though.
Oh, yes.
No mistake in the last 7 races since going to Red Bull, 7 consecutive podiums, and he'll go top of the board. He got the podium last week in the steward's office after he got Scyther penalized. Red Bull versus Ferrari, a big rivalry there in RPL. That's just continuing over time. We had Bonkers and Gecko collide, or sorry, Bonkers and J&T collide yesterday in the Tier 2 race. Scyther and Cookie collided in Canada, and Reese and Scyther have collided in Austria and Silverstone as of recent. So Red Bull and Ferrari just could not get away from each other in the sense of RPL. And that's to no surprise, basically, with how things have been throughout time if you've been here in RPL for a while or not. Either way, though, Reese Dainty with that podium record, I just want to mention, yeah, he's got a podium in every race since he's joined Red Bull back. So fair play to him on that. He's probably going to be the only contender for pole position tonight against Cookie, since Scyther has the qualifying ban. And it means George has to have his time to shine now, too, for Ferrari. And is Cookie on another lap or not? Let's see. I think this is another lap. It is. All right. We'll watch it then. Turn 2 now. He approaches. 173 miles per hour right there. Let's see what the run up to turn 4 is like. He had a slide in the rear. I don't know if he'll back off or not, but we'll see what the sector split's like, even with that mistake, and he is not improving at all. So this is a backed off lap, so it was kind of irrelevant to watch that anyway. But yeah, just my simple thing about Reece Dainty. He got a podium last week after the stewards intervened in his incident with Scyther. It was not the incident itself that got him a qualifying ban, Scyther, but it's the penalty points accumulated from other incidents with that one added up that gets him the qualifying ban to 2 penalty points.
Yeah, and then penalty points can be quite problematic if you're not careful and everything. So, for those that don't know much about the RPL penalty point system, basically how it works is that basically if you get penalized for certain things, you get penalty points for it. And it ranges. You have 3 sec. If you get a 3-second, it's 1 point. 5 is 2. 10 is 3. 15 is 4. So on and so forth. If you accumulate 8 penalty points in the stretch, you wind up getting yourself a qualifying ban. Once you hit 12 points, you'll be serving a race ban. Now that will give. Now that rate after that race ban, you'll basically reset for a new stint.
Whoa!
From 0.
Owen! No! He's out! He made a mistake and then overcorrected it, and he's in the wall, and he's out of qualifying here.
Damn.
That was at the last corner of Sector 2, and that was a hefty crash. We go to LaGrange now.
I just saw it on the map. I'm like, oh no, that is not good. And that is a corner that you have to be careful of if you're not careful. Holy crap, Minico!
Fair play to him. I'm sorry we didn't catch your lap, Minico. We'll go on your board with your teammate then to see what he could do. 5 tenths. 5 tenths up for TB. Jack Miles second. Track evolution improving. Drivers going on newer sets of tires too. TB has 16 consecutive starts here in RPL right now. In his 17th consecutive start, he'll see if he can put this car in the 15s. He can do so. Mercedes 1, 2, and Q2.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I was mentioning just a little bit ago earlier, Owen, with that crash, that corner is a corner that will mess you up if you're not careful. If you catch a little bit of the inner curb or get too heavy on the power in the final on the outer curve, that will basically mess you up as well. Shoot. I forgot what I was saying much earlier.
That's okay. I'll have you covered a Chiller's lap because you're very familiar with this guy throughout the 10 seasons of RPL, and he's been in Alfa Romeo before, he's been in Ferrari before, and in Ferrari last season he took a pole position here out of nowhere. He invalidated so much with track limits in this session specifically, and Q3 too, and Q1. A lot in this event last season in qualifying. But now that he's in Alfa Romeo and he's 8th fastest, he got their best finish of the season last week. That was 8th place, I believe. So a 10th up on the board, Titan. I'll have you cover Sector 2 now. But the Chiller doing a lot better as of recent with the results. But I think he's backed off. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. No. Continue.
He's still going.
Looked like he backed off for a second. Looked like he did. Go ahead.
Looks like he's just dealing with some strong lag spike issues as he's just teleporting all over the place through there as he's well, I was glitching about. First it was claiming he was a 10th up, then it said 4 tenths up, so the Chiller having some serious lag spike problems there. There's a slow car. That's Florian, I believe, waiting to get a lap started. But the Chiller looking to come across the line. Let's see what he's got for a time. 5th fastest, just a bit about a 16 flat. Not bad for him at all.
We've seen the Alfa Romeo drivers outperform themselves at the circuit specifically in previous seasons. I mean, we had Instincts get under the front row here in season 7, I believe it was, and I think Owen joined him in. Is either Owen or yeah, I think it was Owen. Yeah, it was Owen. Joined him in 3rd at the time, so fair play right there. Andrea is on a lap as well for the Alpine Academy car with McLaren. The other Alpine car, Jack Miles, retires from the session, already being fast in the top 3, being safe. We're going to switch to another driver. Florian has backed off. Hunt is on a lap. We're about to start one. We had Andrea back off. That's why we're switching, folks. But, yeah, Hunt is now starting one. Who do we have on a lap? Gecko invalidated. Florian backed off. Wavy is spun. We'll go with Hunted then, because he's just starting a lap now. Oh, that's a lot of traffic. That was all on his left side.
Yeah, that is quite a bit of traffic, yes.
It's the thing with the track that's only 1:15 seconds long. You know, you have a lot of people in designated areas trying to get out of the way. But Hunted is trying to get out of the bottom 5. He's 3/10 up right now. And with Owen crashing out, funny enough, Owen will be into Q3 right now. But these guys behind him have to beat him in order to get 10 cars into the next round competing. Right now, Owen is into the next round, like we said, but he's not going to be competing because he crashed out. Hunted up in the time. Cars also retiring, including DeChiller, Reese, Jack, TB, Minico, but that's in the pit lane. They're safe. 7/10 from Hunted. He'll probably need a little bit more with other drivers behind, likely to improve, including the likes of Andrea, who's been fast in a fast car. Wavy was fast in Q1, so he could shock the world. Florian's not been here in a few weeks, so he's been a little rusty. Gecko, though, in the process, has been fast, so we'll see what he does. Hunted across the line now. What does he do? 5th fastest. That gets him safe. That knocks Owen to the bottom 5. Wavy is crossing the line. His teammate now, and Wavy will not have a representative lap, so he'll have to go again. Andrea is now in the last sector in just a moment, up by 2 seconds, and he'll be the next one to get representative laps in. Gecko is improving. Gecko goes 11th, so that knocks Owen down more places. Florian will knock Owen down more if he continues to improve like he was in Sector 1. But Andrea is the one who's going to do something about that first. That McLaren has one car in right now. Now it has the other car in. Andrea through to Q3 for now. But the gaps keep getting closer. NRM KVS aborts. And I think that may be it from him with the checker flag about to wave. The other AlphaTauri of Florian up by a second. This will promote him to 12th in just a moment. But if he continues to improve, it could be even higher. 11th. Not enough, though, to get through into the next round of qualifying. We have a Red Bull of Cookie on a lap, 4/10 up in the time. He's trying to go fastest in this qualifying session. A 15.4 is the time to beat right now. Last season's pole time was a 15.0. How close will we be to that in this session? Cookie goes fastest, 15.3 though. Next up is the Aston Martin of Wavy, improving by 10 seconds, but he has backed off, and he will not be into the next round of qualifying. That Aston Martin team, after a big week last week for both cars, Speedy and Owen, see the bottom 2 areas in Q2. Not good from them. Gecko's backed off. Luke needs this lap to be vital for him now. Luke is the only one who can knock NRM KVS out. Here he comes, across the line. Winner and pole sitter in previous seasons of this race. Does it. He's through. NRM KVS is out. And so is both AlphaTauris and both Aston Martins. Eliminated in that drop zone. Goodbye.
Yeah, so both Astons and both AlphaTauris are done, but the gap, literally the gap between Andrea and KVS missing out on Q3 by 18 thousandths of a second, and Cookie only 0.14 ahead of Q2, and with a 15.3, that's not bad at all. We'll just have to wait and see on what Q3 is going to wind up looking like.
Florian Van Zelter, I think he needs a lot of credit right now because he's not been racing for like the last month of RPL. Comes back, goes against a teammate who feels more comfortable in this car than he did in the Ferrari in Tier 2. He's been impressing, Gecko has recently a lot. And I'm pretty sure he reserved either a week or two ago for this team anyway, and had decent pace. But the fact that Florian's a 10th ahead of him and had a chance at getting into Q3 is pretty impressive to say nonetheless. NRM KVS been a surprise for Haas recently, but not enough of a surprise to get through to Q3. Gecko out for AlphaTauri as well, the new Tier 1 driver. the returning Tier 1 driver, full-time at least. And Owen crashed out. Wavy was not fast enough at all, and he made some mistakes, so he had to back off. But yeah, your bottom 5 consists of 3 different teams, while the top 3 consist of 3 different teams. Cookie, Minico, Luke, Grange. Both McLarens, both Mercedes, both Red Bulls, and both Alpines through into Q3. We've got the Chiller and George, though, the 2 odd ones out for their team, but 2 Ferrari Academy cars in this round of qualifying. 1 Ferrari, 1 Alfa Romeo. Get your predictions in now for Q3, folks. Pole position last season was a 15-0. 15-1 for the Tier 2 pole time last season, and the FE pole time earlier this season was a 14-9.
Hmm. 14-9 for pole. I'm thinking it will probably be beat this season, but by how much? I'm probably just gonna play it safe and say probably a 14-8.
Alrighty then.
As for my top 3, it's gonna be, I'm gonna say Cookie, Minico, and I hate to be that guy, but I'm probably gonna say Luke will just barely take Reese.
I think we have similar opinions, Titan. Alright. Q3 underway. This is where all the magic happened last season. Owen said, worst track in this game has game froze on his lap. So that would make sense then. That is probably one of the worst places to have the game freeze. The last corner of Sector 2 right there. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense on why you overcorrected it then. Yeah, so, just to put people in touch of where things are at here for RPL Tier 1 right now, in terms of some statistics and some things we remind you of weekly, folks. Last season in this race, Cookie qualified either 2nd or 3rd, but just a 10th off a pole. Well, this season, trying to go for pole, he's going for 4th in the all-time pole list today, tying year-end Maxwell G with 14 poles. He has 5 consecutive poles currently, trying to tie his record and Maxwell's record at 6 consecutive previously. And oh, by the way, if he does take pole position this round in Hungary tonight, he will have the most poles in a single season, tied with Luke from Season 3, when Luke had 12, Cookie's on 11 currently. Let's start qualifying laps now with Jack Miles.
Yeah, so we're on board with Jack as he heads his way into turn number 1. Get a nice back up in the power immediately into DRS as he heads down the slight downhill, heading up into turn number 2. Nice and easy on there, trying to keep it off the curves. Definitely need some. He didn't hit curb, but going into 3. Now a little tiny kink of 4, then the left of 5, keeps it within the track limits. And now going through turn number 6. Now heading up a slight incline, heading up to 7 and 8. Nice and easy on the curbs, riding those curbs as he heads now into turn number 9. Through the winding of turn 10. Now into 11, and then into turn number 12, get his sector 2 time, which benchmark is a 54.0.
Final sector for Jack Miles. He's had some good runs here before, multiple podiums at this circuit. He's familiar with that in Season 8, in Season 6, and now, is he going to be familiar with the top of the table for more than 5 seconds because he's got George behind him? Jack Miles sets the benchmark. It's a 15.6 that they're all chasing. Here comes George, who's been impressive for Ferrari, but not had the results. He's 2nd fastest. The Chiller's next, who got pole last season. He's currently 3rd. Minico next for Mercedes. Minico goes 2nd. Next is the Red Bull of Cookie, and Cookie smashes that out of the park. 15.2. What does Hunted do? The Tier 2 driver who won this race before. Fourth fastest. Next is Luke Range, who invalidated. Then it's Reese Dainty pitting. He had an issue on that lap, so he will not see the flag for the current moment. Andrea invalidated, so invalidation's costing both McLaren drivers, but both Mercedes drivers could be in the top 5. Here comes TB across the line. He'll be on the front row right now provisionally. The fake TB, what an effort from him.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh, the Chiller crashed.
Oh, the Chiller's wrecked.
That is right now where Cookie's going through. That's on the left-hand side. The Chiller's very familiar with that area with crashing when practicing for RPL.
Damn. That is super unfortunate for the Chiller.
Yes, it is. And he's laughing at himself for it, too. Luke Grange on a lap for McLaren. Sector 2. He is navigating his way through now. The ending bit. And I don't think this is going to be a representative lap because I believe he's backed off and he has. Andrea, though, invalidated a second time. But I think he's trying to get back to the pits at this rate, though. So, yeah. Alpine and Mercedes looking very strong at the current moments.
Alpine is showing a really nice signs of life, that's for sure. As looks like the McLarens, they've gone back into the pits. Reese is back out to try again with a new lap, but currently only 3 drivers yet to set a lap, that being the McLarens and the Red Bull of Reese.
Yeah, I mean, I said 14.6 was going to be the pole time, but I don't think Cookie's going to have to push that hard for a 14.6. I think he'll be comfortable with a 14.7 or 14.8 being on pole position, considering what last season was like as well. I am very interested to see, though, at Reese what he does in comparison to Cookie, though, because he has been up there in Q1. Q2, not as much, but he was there. And then now, he doesn't have any pressure from Scyther, so we could see a Red Bull front row lockout for the first time in over 22 races tonight. The last time we saw a Red Bull front row lockout, let alone any team lockout the front row, was back in Britain last season, round 10. It was Bourbon and Reese on the front row, both. This time it could be Cookie and Reese. Track is getting cloudier, so something to be concerned about maybe in terms of your track evolution. But Reese Dainty will go on board with now. The winner of this race back in Season 8. We'll find out what he does. He was just shy of a podium here for Mercedes once before, but now here he comes for pole position. Turn 1 toward the inside curb, but not very much the inside like the other drivers have been. He's more on the outside curb than on the inside curb. Turn 2 now. He approaches, going with a little bit of a wider line, arcing in the corner. Now turn 3 is all his too. Very much the inside there to try to get as much speed for the outside curb. And now the sector split, it's going to be a 27-2. That's not bad at all. But turn 4, what's the push limit like from the British driver? The driver who took the Season 9 championship. You could see, still see the wheel there on the left-hand side where Chiller crashed. But now he navigates the chicane quite well. And now what is the S section like? You saw a little dart to the left-hand side like Cookie did, but not as much as Cookie did. Final bits of Sector 2 to navigate his way through the line. He'll be approaching where we'll find out if he's on the front row of Cookie or needing to improve on Cookie or beating Cookie. Penultimate corner now. Not touching the inside curb, but just riding against it. And right to the left-hand side, just about against touching the grass. Didn't touch the grass, luckily. Cookie crosses the line, or Reese crosses the line to be second to Cookie, excuse me, but fastest in that final sector. Cookie has a race for pole right now, but from his teammate.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the sector splits between Reese and Cookie. Reese found a lot of that time in sector 3. He was nearly 2/10 down in sector number 1. He was almost a 10th down in sector number 2. But then found it all back in Sector 3. Just taking a peek. I'm taking a peek at his time. 21.499 for him. Yeah, Reese almost a 10th and a half up against Cookie in Sector 3.
Man. So, yeah, that Sector 3 must have been pretty bad from Cookie then. Well, watch the fake TB. The last time the fake TB saw a pole position in RPL, you'd have to go all the way back to Season 8 in his championship season. He saw 2 that season. But the last one that came from him then in Season 8 was in Brazil, the penultimate round. So it's been for TB. It's been a total of, what, 23, this is the 13th round, like 36-ish races, something like that, maybe? So, TB, 36,000's up. If he wants to achieve pole position tonight, that's what he needs, but he's got 3 minutes left to go for another one if this one is not the one. The fake TB comes through the chicane right now, and Battery already almost below halfway. He almost dipped the wheel into the grass right there for a moment. Now, right on the edge there, pushing the limits on the curbs. And here he comes to the final corner of Sector 2 where Owen, the Academy teammate, crashed. He's up by 3/10. The fake TB is on a master lap right here for Mercedes. And now, last week, he did not see the points for the first time since the ending of Season 8 when he won his championship there. He crashed in Texas, causing him not to be in the points. He crashed last week. That was a big streak. But now, can he take the streak of pole position away that he's not had in a while? He has done it provisionally. The fake TB back on provisional pole. Andrea was on a lap. He backed off. So now we set our sights to George Alp Williams.
What a lap by TB. That was just impressive, to say the least. Let's see. TB was about 800 down in Sector 1 to Cookie. What basically equaled Cookie in Sector 2, but that gain was over 2/10 in Sector 3. So currently at the moment, in regards to the track telemetry itself, Cookie's weak point seems to be Sector 3.
Interesting. That's something the drivers will have to make note of on the first lap or even the second lap when trying to get DRS. George goes wide, and that may cost him here in terms of improving. He was improving by a tenth there in the first sector, not improving much there. Let's go to Cookie then, who is improving 43 thousandths in that first sector. That is not enough currently for pole, but he needs Sector 2 to be better than that. He is trying to achieve a 14th pole tonight, a 6th consecutive, and the most equaling in a single season. Sector 2 is up by 2.5 tenths right now. George came across the line to better his lap time and better himself by a place or two, but right now, all eyes are on Cookie to tie Maxwell for 4th in the all-time pole list, to take 6 consecutive poles and equal him and Maxwell's record, and the most poles in a single season, to tie that record too. He's gonna go pole position. 14.8. ATX Cookie is on top once again. No shock there, but my God, he worked hard for it.
Just putting a stamp and just putting in
Hunted,
a clinic.
Alpine! What a shock! Wow. Oh my God. And this still is not done. Andrea is on a lap and crossing the line now for McLaren. He needs to be better than 9th, and he will be from the looks of things right now, but only by 1 place. The Mercedes of Minico invalidated. That's it from him. George on a cool-down lap. Our eyes will go to Reese Dainty, 63 thousandths up and trying to take the front row away. He's got a purple Sector 2 and is trying to do just that. Reese Dainty would get a first front row lockout for this Red Bull team in over 22 plus races. It's been a season since RPL has seen a front row lockout from a team, and it came with Reese Dainty and Bourbon last time, and this time with Cookie and Reese Dainty, it will be the front row. Next is Luke Range, who can say something about that, though. Can Luke do it? Second row for Luke. It's going to be a Red Bull front row lockout, and Cookie tying Maxwell for 4th in the all-time pole list with 14 poles, 6 consecutive, and tying Luke's record for the most in a single season at 12. Cookie has done it again.
And all Cookie has to do basically next week, since he tied Luke's record. Next week he has a very, very high chance of breaking it, and it's quite wild for that.
Reese Dainty, fair effort. I mean, it really shows the race prioritization for race pace from this guy after he has not had a front row start with a teammate since that Silverstone race last season. Finally, the front row lockout for Red Bull that they've been needing. I mean, they've had McLaren on the second, or sorry, in the second spot, or in the first spot with Red Bull in the second spot more often, way more often, about 8 times more often, on an estimate, since Red Bull's last front row lockout. And Alpine, a fair effort to get 2 cars there in the top 6, Hunted and Jack.
Yeah, it's a very good show. It's very good. It's a very good showing by these guys, as well as, like I said, Hunted and Jack will be basically occupying row 3. And I mean, take a look at this. I mean, literally the top 7 separated by under a second. It's pretty wild, to say the least.
It's a Red Bull front row lockout. It's a champion second row lockout from TB and Luke. It's a Welsh lockout with the 3rd row, George and Minico in the 4th row, and 2 Italians in that last row of Q3 with the Chiller and Andrea. The Chiller obviously crashing out. Our strategy for tonight's event, let's tell you about it in Hungary here. 35 laps among us. We have soft, medium, medium, hard being the most likely strategy. Some can pull off a soft, soft, hard, medium, hard, excuse me. Some can pull off a soft, medium. It is possible. Maybe not as possible, but still, it's very much a possibility. Your pit stop loss around here is 20 seconds, and your ERS gain back being 17% in the pit lane. Not as much as usual. So a little less than 20% you gain back, so you got to be careful with that battery usage tonight.
Yeah, in regards to the ERS is crucial for a lot of tracks, and with basically a track like Hungary, this especially with the DRS zones and some one of the mini straight at the start of sector 3, that is crucial areas for ERS to come into effect. But yeah, this is going to be a fun race, not going to lie.
I agree, and just for the stream to, pick up on it, I want to make them aware, yes, you are under the weather a little bit, so I'm just going to mention the fact that if I am talking the majority of the time and you feel I'm not letting Titan talk, that's probably why. We got less than 20 seconds till we have the run to turn 1. Really, with the Red Bulls being in the front row there, TB and Luke can maybe mix things up here and dive it from far back to try to make the move in turn 1, but we'll find out. Lights are coming on now in just 5 seconds. "35 laps on board tonight for Hungary. Who's going to do it at the halfway point? The 5 lights are on. And away we go. You saw a little bit of wheel spin from Cookie, but I don't think it's going to matter because the second phase was still good enough to hold off Reese Dainty. He's going to try to cover off the Mercedes and the McLaren. Maybe going to think of a move here at turn 1. Here's 3 wide. Here's 4 wide in the background with Alpine as well, having both cars dueling it out. Now, Reese covers off second. Luke got third there. And on the back, we have 2 and 3 wide. Multiple rows deep from the drivers. Hunted side by side with TB. Hunted with an amazing start again, just similar to Australia. And now 3 wide, squawking around. Andrea gets shoved out wide. And he's the only one taking the escape road thus far. Andrea onto Chiller. Jack onto Chiller. Jack getting through. Jack, who fell down the grid, but getting that place back. Much needed there. Owen on the inside of the Chiller. Squawking around there. Banging for a little bit for just a moment. The Chiller also losing places once again. He had a good run off the line, but then now his teammate Zatsy taking the escape road in the background. Not too much of a chaotic lap 1, but everybody still dicing it around here. Also to the back of the grid, Zatsy off now. Zatsy off and comes back on and spinning. He goes spinning and somehow avoids tapping the barrier as Speedy and Kipu go through. And NRM KVS has been overtaken by Scyther, who's gained about 8 places on lap 1. Or sorry, 6, excuse me, 6 places from Scyther from a qualifying ban.
Yeah, so much action and craziness happening on in that first lap. Minico was going 3 wide against a couple cars
George!
behind.
George, dive bomb on TB! These two collided last week, and once again, George goes for the lunge and will go through for now, but TB's not done at it! Down the inside! Here he comes! Side by side here to turn 2, and now to turn 3 with George on the inside line. They're gonna keep it! George going through! George, risky move, and Minico through on the teammate.
Yeah, TB got a tiny bit compromised out of 4, and looks like Minico got a bit compromised going wide in 6. With TB, when he got compromised out of 4, Minico and TB decided to switch up. Minico now gonna hump down and chase after George, but George really fought hard against TB. These two had some history together. But this is just wild. This is wild racing. We're only on the 2nd lap.
I mean, this circuit is so tough to overtake on, but right now these drivers are showing otherwise. 4 places from Owen, 6 from Scyther, 2 from Speedy, who didn't even get to qualify, and 2 from George Minico. The losers on that start: Jack, TB, KVS, Zatsy. Turn 1 is approaching us now, and we'll see who goes for a dive, similar to how George did. Nobody here right now is the current moment in that top half of the field. Scyther, though, gaining places on the hard tires. Speedy, the only one on the softs. We'll keep an eye out for those guys with differing strategies. But Luke Grange is trying to go tonight for a record 68th RPL podium. And right now, he'd be getting a podium in what is 9 consecutive seasons if he currently stays on it.
Yeah, Luke looking to try to continue that strong legacy of his, getting multiple podiums and records. I mean, one of his records is at risk. It's currently been tied this week, but it's at risk of being broken next week, with some other records possibly being at risk of getting broken later on as the season progresses. But yeah, I mean, literally, Scyther way further back. Scyther currently in 13th, trying to navigate his way up through the field. He's got Florian up ahead of him, but with DRS now available, he can make some moves and get himself further up.
Luke Grange, since this PC change, has not had a really standout race, but he's showing himself to be hanging with both Red Bulls right now. That's exactly what he needs. Something similar to Season 5, where it was Maxwell and Luke battling for the win. There was another driver contending with them as well by the name of Polo God for Mercedes, reserving for the team at the time. That's what's needed from Luke right now for McLaren. He's just off of DRS now, and Scyther made a DRS pass on Florian while we were talking about that. So yeah, lots of headlines for tonight's event in this race. One of them right now about to be Minico and George trying to pick off Hunt to the Alpine car in 4th place right now. A really good run for them.
Yeah, George all over the back of Hunted with Minico right smack dab behind. Crazily enough, Hunted has a very lengthy DRS train. Starts with George as the first car, and it goes all the way back to Dasher down in 17th. That's a big old train.
Luke Grange has lost DRS, but Reese Dainty is keeping within DRS of your race leader Cookie right now. Very good for Red Bull to continue to extend a constructor's lead that they have no threat on. Right now, the threat is for 4th place. Here comes George, making the move already at turn 1 and going through with ease. Scyther getting to Chiller in the background as well. Much needed considering where he started, but now Hunted's under pressure from Minico. Minico trying to go the long way around. Wavy getting Gecko. Now banging around here for 5th place with Hunted and Minico. Minico still having the inside line, gonna go side by side here at turn number 3. That gets tricky. Gecko and Wavy still going back at it, and Minico has to tuck in behind and go again with Hunted.
Yeah, Hunted not willing to give up the place just yet. He put on a really strong fight, but fair credit to Minico for trying his best to try to navigate an attack, but Hunted, an experienced driver and a tier 2 champion, has that position locked down for the time being.
Is he going to go for a dive bomb here and Hunted? Yes, he is. He was using the battery. And Minico sliding, making contact with Hunted, pushing him off the track. Here comes TB, who's also in on the mix. And this caused Andrea, Jack, and the others behind to just close right up. So a opportunistic move from Minico became a move that
Andrea's
put him off
making a
the
move.
road. Yeah, you're right. Andrea is through on TB. That was in the background at the final corner. They're racing wheel to wheel down the main straight. In front of that, we're going to go to Minico and Hunted because we can see 2x2. You saw Scyther diving on the background too. Here's Andrea getting TB, Scyther and Owen, and now Minico and Hunted. We have battles galore here to turn 2. Hunted on the inside line, Minico on the outside. Minico getting squeezed under the curb, but not going to matter. He's pushing his way through turn 3, getting ahead. Hunted using the runoff, coming back on behind, and Scyther, a mistake from him, allows DeChiller to get him, and now Scyther losing more time, maybe an AI for a second. Something happened there. I think he's lagged out because Florian is now trying to go around the outside, and Scyther looks like he's in AI mode.
Yeah, I think he is. Something's wrong with Scyther. Holy crap, he almost got whacked over by KVS.
This is unusual from the driver who has multiple records to his name, and the previous champion, Zatsi, is around and now dealing with no front wing and cutting corners.
Ooh. I just cut the TB, almost went to the back of Andrea as TV is putting on an absurd amount of pressure on Andrea to try to get him to make a mistake and taking things in, but Andrea holding his ground and sitting in the 7th place spot.
And yeah, Reese has a battle for the lead that he is keeping himself within striking distance of, and that's fair play to Reese because we've not seen him put the pressure on Cookie, and Zatsi is into the pit lane, and I believe this will be a retirement. It is. We've lost our first driver this race, and just like last season, first third of the way in, and Alfa Romeo is out of the race. This time, it's not a double Alfa Romeo DNF just yet, like last season.
Yeah, unfortunate for Zatsi. The race just did not go the way that he was planning, and it just didn't go the way he was hoping. But looks like with some of these cars, the gaps are starting to pull around and everything. As Hunted is out of DRS range against Minico. That's gonna leave him a bit vulnerable. Well, I mean, he's got his teammate, he's got his academy teammate Andrea behind, but Andrea's still dealing with TB as Andrea, the car went evil on him out of the final corner, and TB says, I'll take advantage of that, and he's up in the 7th now.
Minico also up in the 4th.
Loses
Scyther
5th place to Minico.
On KVS, yes, I think whatever Scyther had happen, he's now fixed it because he's passed, and now racing to turn number 2. TB and Hunted, little bit of contact there between them, but TB says, I'm going to go on the outside here at turn 3 now, holding on. That is fair play from him.
Yeah, TB, whenever push comes to shove with certain tracks, he is willing to take an unorthodox approach in regards to making overtakes or making bold moves. He is known for unorthodox styles, and I mean, literally, that's what I mean. Literally, that is why TB is currently was our season 8 champion.
Yeah, he's not currently our champion, but if he was, I'd be a little worried about some cheating accusations there for Mercedes. He's 4th in the championship battling Reese, and now around the outside, Jack Miles is going to try it. This is an unorthodox place to make the move, but now because he made the move and Andrea cut him off, he's now got Owen having the door wide open to try to make a move. We have battles all over this circuit in different areas, and Reese may have lost a lot of time to Cookie because he's now out of DRS like he wasn't before, and Jack Miles around the outside is trying to make the move. In the background, because of the stack up, Scyther's getting Florian, and Jack has finally got Andrea. And now Owen, switch back. Oh, he pulled the dummy, and he got Andrea. He caught him napping, and he is through.
Yeah, Andrea must be having a bit of a problem because he was having issues keeping the steering in together. As Florian, first driver into the penalty box for track limits, and that was in turn 5. And yeah, Andrea must be having some kind of problem because, like literally a lap and a half ago, he had trouble as Speedy is around, and yeah, Andrea just having trouble keeping the car in control as I'm on board with him. Yeah, almost 2 laps ago, he had trouble out of the final corner that allowed TB to take advantage, and Andrea unfortunately losing quite a few spots. And looks like we got VSC.
That is for no front wing on the Williams. And now DNF'd from Speedy. Second DNF this race. And this is a perfect time for some of these guys to come in. Some of these guys may be able to make the rest of the way in this race on hard tires, which is why they're choosing to pit.
We got a double stack.
Yep, from a lot of teams. Aston being one of them. Or excuse me, Aston is not one of them. It's Alpine who's one of them with Hunted and Jack. We're watching Andrea because this is the middle of the pit lane. We're going to see who gets caught out by it. But yeah, VSC for the Williams, that's DNF'd. The back half the field have chose to come in. 9th on down. A double stack also for AlphaTauri in the process. 8 drivers stayed out. 7 of those 8 being on mediums.
And those drivers being Hunted, Owen, Andrea, DeChiller, Florian, Jack, KVS, and Kipu. They got off of the medium tires and onto the hard compound tires. Scyther, Gecko. Yeah, Scyther and Gecko were on the hard tires. They've gone to the mediums, and those were the ones that have pitted.
So now, this battle from these guys where Hunted pitted is going to be, at most, the 4th place area. Everybody who pitted under the virtual safety car or stayed out has avoided any drive-through penalties. But we'll see what that does in terms of the pit stop lost time, because it's originally 20 seconds. It's going to cut that down a little bit for these guys. I'm looking at the tires. Now I'm going to look at the leader gap. So Hunted, right now, if those guys pit, he's coming out 4th for sure. Scyther gets to Chiller. That's a battle in the last sector, while Scyther is now messing with Andrea. And Scyther through there too, but with a little bit of argy-bargy. Now DeChiller tries to get his rival in RPL that he's collided with twice now.
Yeah, Scyther just sent that shot in on Andrea. I couldn't tell there was contact between the two of them, but I mean that was a wild time bomb by Scyther, but it did pay off. He's up into 11th. Now he's got Owen to chase down to get him back into the points.
Yeah, so a simple DRS overtake from DeChiller on the main straight got him past, but this 7-car train will be useful to catch up to Hunted if they do not battle. TB gets himself into the penalty box of those drivers inside the points, being the first one of them. This battle with Hunted, that Hunted area, this is going to get interesting because if they pit right now, assuming they do, and they wouldn't, their tires will be better for a little bit in the meantime until the mediums start to wear off. Scyther gets Owen. Late lunge. Owen switchback now on the outside line. Gets through on Scyther. So a little swap around there. The thing with Hunted, I was just going to say, is that Hunted will be the one ahead of Luke and Minico. Or, yeah, not Luke and Minico. Minico and George. But Minico and George will be putting themselves in the mix of this DRS train now, which Scyther's going to go on the inside line, pulling out from being behind and going past for now.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the gaps right now. Let's see if
Florian, be careful with Jack there. Jack back down the inside. Little bit of contact, a little bit of wheel banging. Now Florian on the inside line for turn 3. Pushes Jack out, and they touch, and they're both around and spinning across the track. Florian and Jack with damage.
I just caught that on KVS's camp, on board with KVS. They were side by side hanging into turn number 3. Florian got loose, bumped into Jack, and that's what sent them both around.
And Florian, to make matters worse, reversed it into the wall, picking up rear wing damage, and Jack is not happy, neither is Florian. They're pushing each other back and forth here into the chicane, and now Jack shoved out wide. The Chiller with a penalty for track limits.
Yeah, Jack can get a little bit fired up if certain things wind up happening. But
Here
an
he
argument
goes.
could be made that
Nope.
Florian was fully at fault. But anything is possible.
I'm watching this because I think Jack's gonna use not push to pass like the IndyCar drivers would use, but punt to pass because he's not happy. Overtake button engaged. Now around the outside line, the long way around. Jack Miles will get the place for now. Florian with another attempt down the inside, and he will cut in front of Jack. Wavy with a penalty. He's currently in 7th. Second to last of those drivers yet to pit. Florian just cutting off Jack. Jack back down the inside. Jack now shoving him out wide. And same thing as last lap.
Here we
Florian
go.
on the inside line. Again making contact, but this time they make it out of turn 3 alive.
Yeah, this is just some wild things that are going on over here. But Jack playing
Three
it.
wide! 3 wide to the last sector. Hunted and Scyther both trying to get Dasher, and Scyther got both.
I just caught
Okay.
the end of that. That was insane.
Wow. I am so glad I switched to that battle at the right time, folks. Scyther got Hunted and Dasher and needed to do just that. He is putting himself in prime position to get onto the podium right here based on this pace right now. The 20-second buffer you're losing the pit lane right now would make Scyther be battling Reese Dainty in a couple of moments' time, and Andrea and DeChiller are back at it once again. Andrea shoving DeChiller to the curb, and DeChiller probably not going to be happy with that, but he has to stay behind still for the time being. Owen has momentum, and Owen goes through on Dasher. Sorry, Dasher is not pitted yet, so Owen had to get that move done, and he did.
That's all good. But yeah, as you mentioned, 21 seconds. 21 seconds to time loss in the
20.
pits, which means at the moment, what was it?
20, just 1 second less.
20. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, technically looking at the leader gap, with Reese, if he pitted like right now, he would be coming out basically right around with Wavy and Scyther at this moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because Scyther didn't really put in much practice, and now he's trying to get by Wavy here. Wavy was being a little bit of a blockage to him, and Scyther tactically backed off and then got the DRS and goes around the outside of Wavy to make the move. And double DRS with that 1 detection point means he has DRS for turn 3 too, and turn 2, and Wavy tried to claw back down the inside but couldn't, and Hunted got him too. Smart tactical behavior from Scyther.
That was very calculated
And Dasher's in trouble.
and thought out.
Dasher's in trouble. He had to pull off, went and gave the spot to KVS, to Chiller, and Gecko, and Florian retired in the pit lane. Sorry to cut in, Titan, but that was a lot happening all at once.
Hey, no doubt about that. Literally, Scyther really played that game really well, outsmarting Wavy, and then Hunted lying waiting as well, and he made that move and got it done. And looks like the Aston Martins have switched between as Owen goes up to 9th, Wavy in the 10th. But TV, by the way, all over the back of George, who's actually gone in. Yep, he has. He's gone into the pit. Same with Luke.
This will be interesting because they'll have fresher tires than the guys who pitted under the VSC, but the guys who pitted under the VSC will have the preferred track position, which is more beneficial around here, depending on the circumstances. And big slide from Andrea in the final corner. Keeps it straight, and now DeChiller will be able to pounce, but he's not close enough. Exiting the pits is Luke Range. He's going to come up behind guys he usually would not be behind, and is behind Gecko. Luke Grange, who was third in this race for the longest time, now going to be what, a net P8, net P9, net P10-ish area? That's how much those guys under the VSC benefited.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Luke now has to basically work his way through some of these drivers just to get up back into the places that he was at prior. George, by the way, came out in P14, so he's gonna have a bit of a way to go to reclaim some of the positions he's lost. But yeah, it's going pretty interesting, not gonna lie.
We're almost halfway. And if Scyther continues to improve the pace that he's at, as he's got hunted out of DRS by just about 2 seconds almost out of DRS, Minako's in. If Scyther gets the lead here on Cookie, this will be very interesting with the roles being reversed from what they usually are, with Cookie being in front of Scyther. We'll see what happens there, but Minako into the pits for the first time, boxing for hards as expected. But we'll find out what both Red Bulls do. They're extending. They're the ones with the best tire wear. We'll see if they end up going softs later on. Owen in DRS pursuit of Hunted, but not going to make the move. Hunted is on right now for what could be maybe, at this rate, a second place, third place finish. Dasher gets Minako. Maybe a fourth place for Hunted. Hunted's never had a Tier 1 podium, but he's had a fourth place finish, which came back in Season 3 Canada. I think the last chance he had for that would come this season earlier in Australia when he had a really good start passing Jack Miles for Ferrari and racing for fourth place for a majority of the event. And then at fifth and sixth, he fell back to and really just ended up being barely inside the points, I believe, if I'm correct about that, by the end of it. He had really good pace but couldn't pull it off, and he's doing the same thing he did in Australia in tonight's event, but one step further, and now Luke Grange trying to go one step further up on the grid.
Yeah, Luke currently looking in. He's going down in the inside of KBS. He does so, gets himself into ninth place earlier in the lap. Minako overtook Dasher for 12th. George followed up a little later on, puts himself into 13th. Dasher currently still yet to pit. He's down in 14th at this moment. And the top three, the Red Bulls and TB, yet to pit as well, as Luke firing on that DRS, and he slingshots his way down the inside and passes to Chiller to get himself into 8th.
For a Hungarian Grand Prix, this is getting really interesting to say the least, and this race is becoming a strategical masterclass from those who pitted under the virtual safety car. For those who didn't, they probably couldn't, speaking of both Red Bulls, being in that position where they were so far in front when the VSC came out. They passed the pit lane already, and now they're going to be the ones losing out in terms of track position here, because Scyther will claim DRS if Cookie pits right now. However, the Red Bulls will have that tire advantage when they pit for what could be the soft tires here later on. This is what it looks like it's going to be. I mean, they're extending that gap on the medium tires. Spinning!
Whoa!
Hunted, who's having a good run, hits the wall with the rear end and goes flying in the air. He's now outside the points.
I think he's beached.
He is stuck. Now he's not. Nope, he's good. That's such heartbreak for Hunted. He was on for what was going to be, I think, fourth place once everything cycled itself out here. And he was in front of that train there that we're seeing now overtaking. Luke gets teammate Andrea with a swap. Both McLarens are going to win out big here with this compared to where they were before. Not as much for Luke, but more so for Andrea.
Indeed, very true indeed, as Luke is all over the back of Owen. Is he gonna take a wild shot? I think he is. He thought of it, but just decided, no, I'm just gonna wait, just buy my time just a couple of seconds further, as looks like he's seeing an opportunity. Maybe not. Nope. Luke holding off for right now.
I keep checking that leader gap because I know Cookie will probably pit at some point onto the soft tires, and when he does, Scyther will be ahead. But what does Scyther do is going to be the question. I mean, right now, he'd be 4/10 behind, but now here comes Luke. He saw the mistake from Owen and pounced, and further on back, Minako is getting Gecko for the last point spot. Florian, by the way, mid-race, demoted to reserve. due to his request. TB into the pits.
TV in, and yeah, I was on board with Luke. He got very, very close to Owen, who had a little bit of a loose moment out of turn 12. Keeps together. Oh, Andrea looking to follow up with his teammate, but Owen, the steadfast veteran, holding his groove. Ooh, Andrea
Contact.
nearly coming in close as Owen covering it off. Now Andrea's gonna have to go the long way around to try to get past. Just can't seem to get it done. Owen holds him back.
These two of history, they had a collision in France when we were watching other battles. That was not pretty from them. Hunted is out in the pit lane. He hit the wall with the rear initially, and then he slightly tapped it against the barrier when getting back going. That may have got him rear wing damage, and Minico had a peek onto Chiller, but did not go through.
Yeah, Minico thought about it, but just couldn't find an opportunity to go for the attack.
Whoa!
He is.
Woo!
Yep.
Reese pits. Minico on the inside line, having a dive at it again here. We saw what happened last time. Much cleaner this time. He is the highest driver in the championship without any penalty points, and as he's going around the outside line, you can see why that is. Reese on softs.
Yeah, so Reese is in. Let's see where he comes out as he's coming out of the pits, and he's gonna be just behind. Just ahead of Owen. Ooh, Andrea, nice little shot, but just couldn't keep it together. Ooh, baby.
That was close. George racing Gecko 2. This is for 10th place, the last point spot. George is through. George pitted more recently than Gecko did. Interestingly enough, I'm going to say something very bold here, Titan. It's going to come as controversial off to the whole field, and I don't care. Remember how in Canada, Cookie backed up Scyther in the remaining stages for the race and got Reese the win from it?
I do.
There's a chance Scyther comes out ahead of Cookie when the pit stops all cycle itself out. If that is by a decent margin, I say you back the field... I say you back the field up if you're out in front of Cookie here to have it to where it's a train with Luke and Reese. I know it'd be a little unbeneficial to Scyther with Reese being the one there, but as Minico gets Andrea, I say that happens because it would be more like Singapore with Carlos Sainz with the way that is, and Reese finally gets Luke.
Yeah, it's possible. Anything is likely. As well, TV just set himself the fastest lap. As also George overtaking KVS, getting himself into 9th place. Now he's got Chiller to try to get past, put himself in 8th. Yeah, this is going to be quite interesting to say the least here. But yeah, it is possible. Anything is likely.
I mean, it depends on if he's going the rest of the way in those mediums, though.
Ooh, yeah.
Because if he is going the rest of the way in the mediums, then it makes sense to do so. Gecko has a massive moment there for turn 5. KVS being overtaken by TB to get both Mercedes back in the points, and your race leader, Cookie, is in. I don't think that'll happen now because Scyther lost 3/10 to Cookie, but we'll find out here. This will be an interesting last sector we watched from Scyther. Reese is 2 seconds behind Scyther, and Cookie's onto the softs. TB gets to Chiller, and that was a neat little move there out of the exit of turn 12. Sorry, turn 11. And Cookie coming out of the pit lane. Scyther on the main straight. Gecko joins back after lagging out, and it is a 3-car race for the lead now. Cookie out in front of Scyther, but just by 8/10. And you've got Reese, who's closer now, too, because of those soft tires on the undercut. George gets overtaken by TB down into turn 1. George trying to re-overtake TB, but not close enough.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Scyther just was not close enough to try to get the position, try to get ahead of Cookie for the lead. So Cookie maintains that lead, but now his teammate Reese is now stuck behind Scyther. We'll see what happens. Whoa, that was very close.
TB
got a little loose at
forces
10.
Owen off the road there, going side by side, but does Owen have to give the place back? He does. TB through into 6th.
Yeah. Yeah, Scyther got a little loose out of turn 10, and Reese almost got into the back of him, but Reese had kept the awareness very high and strong, as now he's looking to go for the shot to get the 2nd place. It'll be back to being a Red Bull 1-2, and Reese will have that stamp placed in. He is back in 2nd, but unfortunately, he is now over 3 seconds behind his teammate.
Dasher with a 3-second time penalty. He went out of bounds. Here comes Owen.
George.
Side by side drag race to turn 1 with George. And Owen cuts the corner and now contests the place to George.
I think Owen was just being a little cheeky. I'll just say on that one.
Yeah, I think he didn't mean to do that. Just to say the least. NRM KVS, by the way, will be taking points today for Haas if he stays where he's at due to the penalties in front of him from the following drivers, Andrea and DeChiller. And now, speaking of penalties, Luke Grange for McLaren has a 3-second time penalty. If Minico gets within 3 seconds here, and Scyther ends up losing a lot of time on those mediums, we could be seeing a Minico podium. Not going to see it yet, though.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the penalties here.
Scyther's in.
Pretty much everyone is sitting at 3 seconds. Luke, TB, Andrea, DeChiller, Wavy, Gecko, and Dasher. As Luke has overtake. Oh wait, that's why Scyther's in the pits. That's why.
Also pitting is DeChiller. Main straight, we have DRS. Once again for Andrea and KVS. KVS is a place higher now due to the pit stops. Scyther comes out 10th. The Chiller comes out outside the points. They will have to race themselves back up the grid to get where they were at before. And we'll see if they do it.
Yeah, very much so. As literally Scyther has a 5-second gap to KVS. So, probably given where he is with just about 11 laps to go, I would probably say Scyther will probably claw his way back up to 6, possibly?
I think 5th is possible because TB has that penalty. TB has that penalty. It just matters on how quickly Scyther gets Andrea, KVS, and Owen in that DRS train. But 5th is possible with the fact that you have drivers who have track limit penalties in front of George, like TB. But the problem for Scyther is, I just noticed, I was on board with him there, a screen freeze put him 6/10 back, and now another one puts him a second back.
You know, I'm not gonna be. I know I'm gonna sound like that guy, but I'm just gonna say it. But I mean, with some of these guys with the penalties, you know, there is probably one other way that these guys with their penalties, they could see like massive shakeups and a bit of a screw ups in the order. Is if we get a late safety car, and there is one guy that could have the possibility of maybe having that happen.
Don't say it. Don't say it. He's having a good run though. Fair play to him being in 11th, you know, because if Scyther keeps having these screen freezes, not gaining time, Wavy can actually get P10 here in his first Tier 1 points finish in 2 seasons. So if Scyther keeps having malfunctions right there, it is possible. I can't count out the fact that Wavy can actually get points in this race. Fair play to him, actually, though. Putting him himself in the Aston Martin rather than the Williams. He's very comfortable with that car. Tier 2 has showed it. Racing with a concussion. You know, he's not my driver of the day at all, but he's definitely my good effort of the award a day. Because, you know what? Sticking it out like that, fair play. TB is gaining a lot of time in these mediums, and it's going to be challenging Luke Grange in the upcoming moments, and Minico needs this here to get Luke on penalties and could be taking Canada's first podium in Tier 1, let alone his own. And Andrea is in DRS, has that applied with the rear wing open on Owen, but it's not going to matter right now because he has that track limit penalty. KVS would be getting him for 8th.
Yep. Just take a look at the gap. It looks like currently at the moment, Minico just needs to gain at least another 1/10 of a second in order to get within that 3-second gap of Luke. At some point I'll have to check the race director to see what the other guys are currently sitting at in regards to track limit warnings that they've gotten so far. But Scyther, by the way, pitted only 2 laps ago. He's only gained currently about 2.6 seconds in the span of 2 laps.
That's good and all, but you need to make some overtaking happen if you want to get up to P6, which I think is going to be the target now due to where TB is at. TB obviously on those medium tires, on fresher medium tires, gaining a lot of time. So yeah, I don't know if 5th is possible, but I think 6th is still possible. Surely 7th though, because he's on the back of this train now and about to be in DRS, and he is in DRS.
Yeah, so checking it here, and looks like
2x2. Andrea down the inside. Scyther on KVS. Andrea shoves Owen onto the curb, and now they race wheel to wheel down to turn 2. Andrea having the outside line. Dasher with a 3-second, and now they do remain side by side for a moment where Scyther picks off Andrea, and now Scyther trying to get Owen here on the run to turn 4. Can't do it. Andrea lost 2 spots there from what he had for a moment. Now, Scyther around the outside line. Could have the door shut on him if he's not careful. He's going to try to be ahead by the chicane. Owen forces him off. Side by side. Scyther out in front, but has to give the place back and gets tagged. Whoa!
My God.
TB is now about to be fighting Luke in a moment, but now Scyther re-overtakes Andrea and now wants to retake the places on Owen and pick off those pieces that were missing for turn 5. You got Luke, who's under threat for the podium now with TB. That's about to become TB's place. TB pulling a little bit of a dummy around the outside. He's going. These two have history. These two are ex-teammates. These two. Again. Yep, you're right. Scyther on the main straight is getting Owen. That's 7th place for him. But with TB and being in front of Luke, he can now back up Luke for the teammate. Minico is within 3 seconds now, finally.
Yeah, Minico 2.1 seconds behind Luke, and is starting to slowly gain up. Now, I was checking the director to see what the other guys are sitting at. Cookie currently sitting at no warnings on his end.
Good.
Reese has 1 back on lap number 3. Minico has 2 on him from the first lap.
Yeah, but were they track limits or were they for collision with another driver?
Well, he has 3 warnings. The 2 on the first lap, it was corner cutting and then exceeding track limits.
All right.
And then the third one came like at lap 6 and was a collision with Hunted.
Oh, that will make sense then. TB might actually pull a gap himself and try to get the podium all to his own. But the Chiller is battling for P11 with Gecko and Wavy. You know, a season ago, he was in the thick of things for a win here, but then a safety car costed him from an Alfa Romeo teammate in the academy. This time, it's a VSC from Speedy that has changed the outcome of this race.
On the inside.
KVS on the inside of Andrea. DeChiller getting Wavy. Here's KVS here on the outside now, trying to go the long way around. Andrea protected it, and Gecko and DeChiller both got Wavy there because Wavy was left out to dry, being the only one without any DRS. And Scyther now gets George, and I think his fight will be for 5th place finally.
Yeah, but Scyther has like over 8 seconds to try to catch Minico to warrant a challenge for the 5th place spot. And speaking about with Minico, he is now out of the 3-second range to his teammate TB. So right now TB is going to keep 3rd place at this present time.
Here's a look at the penalties, folks. Dasher, DeChiller, and Gecko are your only drivers with multiple ones. Cookie, though, has set himself up quite nice out front. He's going for a 10th win from pole and a 11th RPL win here as well tonight. Here we go. What are the battles looking like on track right now? We have one with Andrea. We have one with Owen. We have one with KVS and DRS. What else do we have? Chiller and Gecko and DRS, but they're only going to take 10th place if someone else spins or retires, really. So you need something massive to happen there for these guys to get the points. KVS right now is going to be getting 9th from Andrea from track limit penalties. Owen, a nice recovery from his retirement and qualifying. Scyther up 13 places from the qualifying ban. I think this might be my contender for driver of the day. Maybe. I don't know. He is on an unorthodox strategy with a 2-stop. The highest of those guys, but still able to fight for 5th here with that. So, I don't know. Maybe him? Luke is one who's a fair shout. Yes, you're in a McLaren. You're supposed to be up there, but we've not seen a really good Tier 1 race from him in a while. It's much needed. Cookie's had another good performance. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are up there for driver of the day contenders. KVS maybe being a shout too. Owen too. Kipu, 3 seconds to his name. I don't think that's the first time either. Let me just double check. Yeah, 8 seconds. He had a 5-second for speeding earlier on.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you that Scyther is definitely a very strong candidate for driver of the day. Just like I said, he had that qualifying ban. He's navigated his way all the way up to the 6th place spot. He's still trying to hunt down and chase after Minico. Currently, the gap is currently 4.7 seconds. So it's possible. I mean, if he pulls a bit more of a gap to close in, I probably would wager a last lap brawl between Minico and Scyther.
The fake TB, I have to give a lot of credit to him too, because you know what? Of all tracks he does not have a podium at, I'm surprised this one's on that list.
He just never podiumed at Hungary before?
Correct. I'm looking at this right now.
No kidding.
He's never had a podium here.
I'm shocked. I thought he did have one.
I know. I would have thought he had one too, but he doesn't.
More you know.
I know. Minico will be getting another 4th place as things stand right now because he'll pick off Luke on the track limit penalties. But the only thing that will get him a podium right now at this current moment is if TB's tires die out. It does not look like that'll be the case, but they are toward a stage of the race where they will be falling off a little bit. I just don't think it's going to be enough, though, considering these guys' hards are also going to be falling off, too.
Or TB gives himself another track limit penalty because he is one away from getting another one.
That is a fair point to make, too. And Scyther's also there to pounce, and that would mean if Scyther can get Minico, he can be on the podium himself then if TB picks up another one. Oh, Andrea using the escape road, coming back on. Small mistake from him. And he slides, too, for good measure. Right now, with that track limit penalty, you know, if anyone outside the points gets 6 seconds removed, like the Chiller or Gecko, I mean, he could be down to P11, but that's a matter of if. That's silly scenarios. And right now, NRM KVS surely wants to get past him to have a chance at Owen because Andrea is just unsettled with that McLaren right now. 2 laps to go. 8-second lead from Cookie over teammate Reese. About to make it a Red Bull 1-2. Since Reese has joined Red Bull back, I don't know if we've had a Red Bull 1-2. I think we have, but it only happened once. It happened in Spain, and that's it. Yeah, only Spain. Andrea sends it down the inside. He has the penalty to spare. He wants to be able to not fall down any further. And he's racing wheel to wheel with Owen on the run to turn 2. And now on the outside line, the long way around, he'll still keep his car there, but Owen blocks it off.
Yeah, Owen placing the car where he needs to have it placed to keep Andrea just a little bit further back. It does bring KVS much closer, and yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. And looks like Cookie has started the final lap. Just take a look at the timing and scoring. Scyther 2 seconds behind Miniko.
Maybe a last lap dash? I don't know. It's going to be tough to have that happen. We still have this battle continuing, and it's now opened itself up to two other cars involved in the mix. The Chiller and Gecko are there too, but they have 2 more track limit penalties than Owen and KVS. Cookie has ran a beautiful race and deserves a lot of credit for it. He is just shy of wins in a single season. Couple races from that to pick off Luke on that record that he has. And same with wins from pole in a season too. Everyone just squawking around, ducking out, but we're going to switch to Cookie in just a moment here. Fair play to him and fair play to these guys keeping it clean today. Four DNFs though, by the way. 4 DNFs. Cookie is slowing now and taking his time to get to the line. He will take a 10th win from pole and a 10th win on the season. In RPL's 10th season, Cookie wins in Hungary, and he did it by 7 seconds over teammate Reese to make it a Red Bull 1-2. Reese Dainty, yet another podium to his name. And the fake TB, his first podium in Hungary, is going to come in Season 10. He adds yet another podium to the season. It will be number 4 for him. Luke, 4th place on track. Running out of fuel at the line. It will be Miniko getting 4th, and then Scyther 5th on the penalties when they get applied. Miniko just shy of a podium once again, and now that's going to mean with Miniko tied with the 3rd different driver for most P4s without a podium at 3. Still racing remaining. It's going to be a photo finish with the Chiller and KVS on track, but not for long. NRM KVS holds on penalties. Andrea, the last points runner. The Chiller over Gecko, and then Wavy and Jack and Dasher and Kipu, our last runners. 16 made it to the checkered flag.
Yeah, that was a wow. That was some fun racing there. Fair props to Cookie going for win number 10 for him. I mean, literally, as we said before, when it comes to Cookie, track limit warnings, steward penalty reports, or very late safety cars is what can cause the downfall for him. But he just cannot be denied. 10 currently. There's still some plenty of racing left to go for in the season for Cookie to go for Luke's all-time win in a season record.
Yeah, you've got all-time wins in a season. You've got all-time wins in a season from pole. I mean, Cookie is just smashing everyone out the park right now in a Red Bull 1-2 for the 2nd time this season. American Brit, your podium. And Cookie wins by 7 seconds this time. And I feel like even from the start of the race, he had more competition. Reese Dainty was closer. Reese Dainty solidifies himself as someone who Red Bull will want to keep. But yeah.
So I'm going to have to cut in for just a second, but we have some breaking news. This was put in about 25 minutes ago. At his request, Florian has been to reserve for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Here are your final results. Red Bull, Merc, Ferrari. Luke Grange for McLaren is 6th. George in the points again for Ferrari to make it another double points for Ferrari. Aston with Owen in the points as well. KVS for Haas 9th. Andrea 10th. And here's your guys who finished outside the points. Cookie ends off with the fastest lap for what is, I believe, a 5th or 6th consecutive race in a row. I mean, this guy is racking up so many fastest laps too. I feel like if we had the record for fastest laps counted, Cookie's had a lot. He had a lot. He has already had more than last season. But yeah, we lost 4. Came from Hunted, Florian, Speedy, and Zatzi. Right there, the guys we lost. My driver of the day goes to Scyther. He lost. He said he lost 14 seconds from wheel glitches. And yeah, I saw those wheel glitches. I thought they were screen freezes. And if it weren't for that, he probably could have been on the podium today. And even with the 2-stop, though, impressive nonetheless. My driver of the day.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I also agree on Scyther being a driver today as well. Like I said, that quality ban, he had to start all the way at the back of the field, and he worked his way up into the to getting himself in the fourth, not fifth place. Really good showing for him.
So next week we will be in Spa for RPL racing in Tier 1. Tier 2 will be racing in the season opener. We'll get a schedule release very soon. I will pressurize Owen and Jack to get that done. Formula Endurance still has yet to have a schedule, but they have a constructors fight tomorrow between Red Bull and McLaren in Japan. That will decide the constructors championship. The drivers championship already decided. Second place already decided. So fun still going to happen throughout the weekend. It will be in Suzuka, though. That fun will happen tomorrow. I will not be there for Suzuka in Tier 1. We'll figure out who will be commentating that event. In the meantime, we'll let you all go. It's tomorrow. The racing continues for the weekend in Japan for Formula Endurance. And then next week in Tier 2 for the season opener in Season 12. And Spa for round number 14 of the season. RPL's longest Tier 1 season. We'll also likely figure out, not tomorrow, but before next week. I'm trying to get Luke to reveal it then because of our new schedules coming out for Tier 2 and FE. What 2 tracks will be removed from the Tier 1 calendar? Because we have 2 races we need to remove because of the early release of F124. So in the meantime, we'll figure out what those are and continue to update you throughout the week. Stay tuned through our socials as well, folks. And next time, catch us at RPL Formula 1. Ryan Searles, RPL Titan Iron, signing off for tonight. And we'll see you for the next time you tune in here in RPL. Have a good night, a good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are, and we'll see you then.